Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Labrador West Minex 2026. Please welcome to the stage the Labrador West Chamber of Commerce President, David Cole.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Minex 2026. Whether you've traveled from the island, from Goose Bay, from California, or from the Harry Lake Trailer Court, we appreciate you taking time to take part in this event. So before we hear from our first speaker, I'd like to start the day with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge Labrador as the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Innu, the Inuit, and the Naskapi people. We strive to be the responsible stewards of the land and to respect the unique cultures, languages, and traditions of all who call it home. We commit ourselves to work in a spirit of truth and reconciliation to make a better future for all. Thank you all for sharing this space with us today. So we've worked hard to grow this event for our local business community and industry. It continues to bring together leaders, experts, and community members to strengthen Labrador West's mining sector. As the backbone of our local economy, mining thrives on collaboration, shared knowledge, and new opportunities. This is an exciting time for Labrador West and for the province as a whole. We stand on the precipice of major projects that have the potential to shape our future. Achieving this growth will require strong collaboration between our community and the broader business sector. The opportunities are before us, and together we are ready to seize them with both hands. Events like Minex play a vital role in connecting businesses, workers, community, and governments to support long-term growth and sustainability. Together, we can build a strong and resilient future for Labrador West. I'd like to thank our amazing staff, volunteers, funding partners, sponsors, speakers, and our local business community for helping us grow this event year after year. Our team has grown significantly this year. And if you should have any questions, please feel free to ask someone with the designated event team t-shirt. You'll see it on the back of their shirts. And also this morning, in the interest of saving time, so you can all get the most out of your experience, we have decided not to have a formal MC this morning. Instead, our event coordinator, Lydia Rickards, will announce each speaker from backstage. So quickly, before I hand it over to her, I will take care of some of the housekeeping items. Our fire exits are out through the bottom here, straight out. There's two exits there. At the top of the auditorium, out through the main door, or there's another fire exit up here on the left. Bathrooms are up in the lobby around the cloakroom. Coffee and treats will be provided for our coffee break, provided by the Wellbeing Cafe and sponsored by the Cami project team. So thanks for that, Cami. We ask that you take no pictures of the speakers on stage. Respect everybody's privacy. The green room, of course, is off limits for the speakers to prepare for their speeches. Other than that, enjoy the event. We have a really packed schedule over the next few days, so if you need anything, let us know, and have fun.
Please welcome to the stage our next speaker, MP for Labrador, Philip O.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour et tous. C'est un plaisir pour moi d'être avec vous ici, avec vous aujourd'hui, l'occasion de Minex 2026. Before we begin, since I'm the first speaker, I think we should offer a debt of gratitude and thanks to the organizers. I think many of us have been part of organizing such events like this in our past, and we know they just don't come together organically. These events come together with a lot of work. So to David, to Lydia, and all the people behind them, let's give them a big round of applause. So to the organizers, I'd like to thank you for the invitation to be here in Labrador West today. Labrador City, Wabush, and indeed Fairmont. These communities are just not dots on a map. These communities are just not a place that talks about mining. These communities, this place, knows mining, and you live it every single day. For generations, this region has been the cornerstone of Canada's resource economy. Long before critical minerals became the headlines, before supply chains became the global concern. Labrador is already doing the hard work, extracting, producing, shipping, and supporting the community, and doing so in a northern Canadian environment. So when we talk about the future of mining, it is important to be clear from the outset. Labrador is not an experiment. Labrador is a proven jurisdiction with skilled workforce, world-class deposits, and a track record for delivery. And while we have tremendous skiing in this area, and while we love our politics, this is not Davos, and I'm not the Prime Minister. But I will make some references to comments that the Prime Minister of our great country has made in recent times. But this morning I want to talk to you about three things. The global moment that we're living in. Our Prime Minister has said that this is not a transition of our economy, but rather it's a rupture. What does that moment mean for Labrador? And I'd like to speak to you about that. And how government, industry, and communities can move forward, not cautiously, but confidently. The global landscape has changed, as I've said. We are operating in a very different global environment today than we were when Minex went ahead just a couple of short years ago, and certainly much different than when Minex started some 13 years ago. Mining is no longer just about a price cycle, about a production trend. Mining today is about our economic security. It's about an energy transition, it's about defense and manufacturing capacity, and it's about our geopolitical stability. Countries around the world are assessing where their minerals come from, how they are processed, and who they rely on, and most importantly, who they trust for their supply. This changes and adds value to countries like Canada and to jurisdictions like Labrador. Iron ore, copper, cobalt, and critical minerals, these are no longer just commodities, these are strategic assets. And that reality places Labrador in a position of strength. Because of these facts that cannot be contested, Labrador matters more now than ever before. Labrador offers things that other jurisdictions cannot compete with. Labrador offers political stability and the rule of law. A skilled and experienced mining workforce, people that you live alongside and interact with every single day. And we have a deep knowledge and understanding of the northern conditions in which we work. We have existing infrastructure, and today we all talk about dual use infrastructure. And some of you in this audience, I've already talked to about how we can better use our rail infrastructure, our port infrastructure, and how that we can get our mining products to the transatlantic market. Just as importantly, Labrador offers credibility. Projects here are not hypothetical. They are engineered, they're financed, the projects are staffed, and they are run by people who understand what it takes to make projects work. Make projects work responsibly, environmentally, socially, and economically. That credibility matters. The credibility that I just talked about matters in boardrooms. It matters in capital markets where the investment is found to run such projects. And it is found and understood in international partnerships. But the opportunity in front of us goes way beyond extraction. The future of mining competitiveness is increasing, and it is about value creation. It's about the processing and the benefits that remain in our communities to help build our economy. It's about logistics and transportation corridors. And yes, it's about power lines and grid dependability and resilience. It's also very important in the world in which we sell our products that we focus on emission reductions through innovation. And that's not just an ideology, but it is very important. I'm referring to taking carbon or taking us off carbon and processing using arc furnaces and other things that require a lot of electricity. For Labrador, this means thinking about mining as part of an industrial ecosystem. And you might say, what is that ecosystem? Well, it is the electricity that we have in abundance. It is the deposits that we're best known for in the Labrador Trough and beyond at locations such as Voisey's Bay. And it is about that infrastructure, whether it's port infrastructure to the south of us, it's about rail lines and other infrastructure that we will build. The best question of exchange around this conference, when you're dialoguing with your colleagues, when you're dialoguing with your competitors, when you're dialoguing with those that have chosen to travel here, is how do we reduce the bottlenecks? How do we focus on dual-use infrastructure? And how do we move our products to market faster? How can we ensure that the investments we're making can make our industry more competitive? I want to speak to you about Indigenous partnerships. This is a strategic imperative. Before getting into politics, I worked for an Indigenous-owned business. And that's just not a space where you aspire to be. It's a space where you can excel. And no discussion about mining in Labrador is complete without speaking about Indigenous partnerships. Across Canada and here at home, we've learned some important lessons. Projects succeed when communities are partners, not afterthoughts. Impacts and benefits agreements are project equity and will help develop your projects faster, smarter, with success. In Labrador, Indigenous nations and Indigenous governments are not new stakeholders in mining. They are rights holders with deep connections to the land and a growing role in project ownership, employment, and in governance. Strong partnerships are not only the right thing to do, they give you a competitive advantage. Projects that are built with trust, clarity, and shared benefits move forward faster with fewer disruptions and attract capital with confidence. Today's developers, today's investors are seeking confidence in exchange for commitment. That's well known. The most successful projects of the next decade will be those that are embedded in partnerships early, transparently, and meaningfully adhering to the principles of free, prior, and informed consent. Can I get a glass of water or a bottle of water, please? The role of government in these developments should be predictable over perfection. Striving for perfection will serve only to delay and serve to offer missed opportunities. Remember, in the words of our Prime Minister, nostalgia is not a strategy. Historic reckoning is not a way forward, though it can guide our future. I believe what matters most for government is not perfection, it's predictability. This is confidence. Thank you. This is confidence that my government is working hard on and will deliver. To aid in this, our government has established the Major Projects Office. I'm not going to get into it, time won't allow, but if you want to pull me aside afterwards, I'll chat to you about it. That's why the focus must be on streamlining regulatory processes without weakening standards, coordinating federal, provincial, and Indigenous decision-making, investing in enabling infrastructure like power and ports. Because we're somewhat tight on time, I'll wrap up, but it's very important for all the projects that we're contemplating to focus on the youth of the future. Students that are in our school system that want to work in the mineral sector, having appropriate training, having proper apprenticeships programs. So over the next 2 or 3 days, I want you to do as I've suggested. Let's dialogue, let's interact, and let's talk about the great things that are done here in Labrador West. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir. Please keep that applause going for our next speaker, MHA for Labrador West, Joseph Power.
Good morning. Thank you, MP Philborough. Welcome back to Labrador West. Good morning. CMHA for the District of Labrador West. I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome everyone to Labrador West for the MINEX conference this year. Especially would like to welcome my colleagues from the provincial government, Premier Tony Wakeham, Minister Lloyd Parrott, Minister Leila Evans, and MHA Keith Russell, and all their staff. Of all the impressive mining potential Newfoundland poses, perhaps none is greater than what is here in the Big Land. As you all know, Labrador West is a hub for mining activities, particularly in the iron ore sector. Our region is already world-renowned for the various iron ore operations and is home to several significant iron ore mines, including the Iron Ore Company of Canada, Core Resources, Teta Steels, Kemi projects in the horizon, along with Mount Wright mine in their neighbouring community of Fairmont. These mines have been a driving force in our region's economy. I would like to thank the Labrador West Chamber of Commerce for hosting MINEX again this year, especially after a successful conference in 2025. This year again, they have a great lineup of exhibitors, speakers, presenters, and local businesses. Please take the time to meet local suppliers, customers, industry leaders, and community advocates to hear about the exciting opportunities we have here in Labrador West. This will be a great opportunity to engage in great conversation around the current issues in the mining industry and the barriers that we will face in the future. For me as MHA for Labrador West, this is a new line of work and I'm still getting my feet wet. I'm looking forward to the next couple of days so I can meet all the players and learn more about the mining industry in our communities. Once again, hats off to everybody involved in making this conference another great success, and I look forward to meeting and chatting with everyone here. If it is your first time to visit Labrador West, try to get out and see the great sights and the scenes here in our great community. I would like to thank everybody for coming to MINEX, and I hope everybody enjoyed the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Our next speaker is Minister of Labrador Affairs, Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation, Health and Community Services, Mental Health and Addictions, Minister responsible for Newfoundland and Labrador Health Services. Please welcome to the stage Minister Leela Evans.
Always got to adjust the mic. People says, wow, that's a lot of portfolios, Leela. And I say, yeah, I used to be much taller before I got sworn in. Now, anyone who knows me, I have a reputation for having really nice prepared speeches that we've all worked on for many hours. And I would get up and I wouldn't read them. But I do take more time sometimes when I do that, so I am actually going to try and follow my speech. Most of you know me. I'm Minister Evans, but before that I was Leela Evans, MHA for Torngat Mountains. And one of the reasons why I want to try and follow the speech is because a lot of times when I would be like interviewed on the radio, I would listen to the person speaking before me. And a lot of times they used to be a minister. So by the time it was my turn to go on, I used to be pretty upset. And what would I be upset about? I'd be upset because Labrador provides so much to the province, but we don't have the infrastructure, the supports, and the services that the rest of the province has. And that was always an issue for me because it was never addressed. It was never addressed, and it was so frustrating for Labradorians. So this is a huge opportunity for me to be able to get up and speak. So thank you for having me here. Congratulations to the Labrador West Chamber of Commerce and those involved in planning this event. It's very successful, has a great reputation, and that's because of the tremendous effort and work that goes into it. So, I really need to acknowledge that. Mining has been a big part of my life. It's improved my life greatly, actually. And it's improved the lives of people in my communities in Northern Labrador. And I see through Labrador as a whole. I spent about 20 years working in, related to mining, the construction industry, exploration and mining industries. And I spent a lot of time with the different, I worked with Valet back in the Voices days when it was actually Inco. I worked with Aurora, the uranium deposit. Also, I came over Muskrat Falls for a bit, and then I went back over to Voices before I got into politics. So the mining industry, I'm very aware of, and I'm aware of the benefits. I'm also aware of the pitfalls, and I hope that's going to help guide me in my roles as minister. And of course, wearing many hats is a huge opportunity to be somebody from Labrador, grew up in Labrador. The mining industry in Lab West has been very beneficial to the region. And now we see some of the struggles with, the increased need for electricity and, housing and all those things. But I want to say that our government is listening. We've only been in government now for about, I was going to say 100 years. Feels like 100 years, right?
104 days.
104 days, right? So our government is very committed to ensuring people of our province are the first to benefit from our natural resources. And I'm just going to pause and I'm just going to point out Leila Evans, Keith Russell, Joe Power, 3 MHAs, born and raised in Labrador, representing Labrador. But I also want to point out Lloyd Parrott. People from Lab West recognize and know Lloyd Parrott. His mother still lives here. And also the goose, Mike Gooseney, has lived and worked over in Lab West and also in Northwest River, so very familiar with Labrador as well. And of course, our Premier, he spent several years as CEO of Labrador Gunfire Health and living in Labrador. I don't think we've ever had a time where the people in government had so many voices, knowledgeable voices from Labrador. So if we're ever going to succeed in getting resources, supports, and infrastructure and the things that we need and we deserve and we contributed to, it's now. This is a huge opportunity. So I just want to say, I hope you embrace us. I hope you support us, because we're coming in after another government that's been in power for 10 years. And as Minister of Health, I see what we're dealing with. I talked to Minister Craig Pardy, Minister of Finance, and I know what he's dealing with. Minister of Industry, Lloyd. We see what we're dealing with. Minister of Transportation. So we need to have time. We need to have time. There I go, look, see, where's the speech? That's not in the speech. But, and I probably not even supposed to be saying this because it's not in the speech. But I'm just saying to you, as one Labradorian to other Labradorians, it's a huge opportunity for us. And if you speak to any single one of us, we're very, very passionate. But that passion has been forged in resiliency, right? Labrador should have a lot more. And I'm not just saying that. That's not just a political thing. That's the reason why I ran. I ran mostly because my family and my friends was telling me about the harm that was going to come from when they took off their freight boat. We weren't connected by highway. And that's the reason why we're here, is because we want Labrador to benefit. We want the Labrador to see some of the benefits, right? We want to make sure Newfoundlanders and Labradorians are the principal beneficiaries of our resources, including mining. We will be requiring the local community benefits agreement for major resource projects and public infrastructure contracts. And I want to say to you, we are going to make sure they benefits Labradorians, and especially the regions that's impacted by mining. Because mining is not always just about the financial benefits. We got to make sure it's done responsibly, right? We got to prioritize training and education so that the people of the regions can get trained and get those jobs, get access to the jobs, and have that ability to take it and be able to grow as people in communities. That's what we're about. That's what Labradorians want. Labradorians want benefits for Labradorians. This is so important, right? Also for me, as Minister of Health, mental health and addictions, and it's so good with Labrador Affairs because wearing that hat, I can actually have conversations within government and with companies and organizations and stakeholders and make sure that Labradorians are getting getting the supports that we need. And it's very, very important to talk about the underrepresented groups, such as women, diverse individuals, and Indigenous workers. Because for far too long, when we're planning projects, those groups are, the needs are not addressed. But when you address those needs, you help the communities. With women. Women usually are the ones, that contribute so much to the family, to the household, to the community. So we got to make sure women's issue, rights and benefits are addressed, gender diverse individuals and Indigenous workers as well. We need to make sure we have a good, strong education system, right? Especially for the trades, to make sure our people are educated, that they're resilient. And the big thing about that is it really helps when the economy sort of goes in a downward spin. We need to be resilient. We need to be able to ride those out because people don't like to talk about it, but that's a big part of the mining industry. And if we talk about it and if we plan for it and if we invest in our communities, I'm looking at the minister now, right? And he knows what I'm talking about. We've lived it. If we plan for that, then our communities will benefit because they won't be so hard done by when, the economy sort of tanks, right? And that we can be more resilient. We need to make sure we partner with industry, communities, post-secondary institutions, because we want our communities to be better. Government has a role in that, a strong role. And if you have people who are knowledgeable about Labrador at the table, but more importantly, if you have people at the table who care about Labrador, we will have better deals, we will have better economies, we'll have better communities. And that's what we're all about. That's what this government's about. And I already spoke about economic resilience. We have to make sure that our workers are resilient within the communities, within the companies, so that we can actually succeed on every level, no matter what the economy is doing, no matter what, we're looking at Canada and looking at the States and the volatility and the instability. We need to make sure we can ride that out and our communities are good, right? And Labrador contributes so much to the prosperity of the province. We need to make sure that we are benefiting. Just looking at the recent closure, recent closures we experienced recently with the Wabush Airport. This conversation Joe Power and I spoke quite a bit about, also Philip Earle. And that's one thing that we want to make sure is that we all work together. Because, when you look at the Wabush Airport, Transport Canada is responsible for that. But the provincial government, myself, Minister of Labrador Affairs, the Minister for Transportation Industry, Infrastructure, we're not going to just say that's the federal responsibility. What we're going to do is we're going to work with the federal government and make sure that they realize the problems that closures at the Wabush Airport is causing. It causes huge problems, not only for residents who are trying to travel, but for patients who are trying to get out to the hospital appointments. The schools are impacted, and especially the companies, with not only just the rotational workers, but a lot of times we have to get people, professionals, back and forth into the communities to work on things related for the mines and for the businesses. It's so important. So we can't have Wabush Airport closing, and have these closures. Also, another thing is, with the airlines, we got to also work with the airlines to make sure that, flights are not canceled and passengers are not stranded, right? But I gotta say, being here, we see the value of mining, right? Over in Labrador West, I think is probably one of the best places to be when you want to talk about the value of mining. Because it's about the economy, it's about jobs, it's about future, it's about future generations. And as Minister of Health, I want to let you know that we recognize when we talk about future generations. Back in the day, and not that very long ago, when you come in, you worked in Lab West, you worked until you retired, and then when you retired, you moved back to the island or you moved somewhere else, and that's where you retired to. And now we have our people who are becoming seniors. They want to stay here because they have families here. They have kids here growing up. They want to, be next to their grandchildren. So it's very, very important for us to invest in infrastructure and services that supports our aging population, so that Lab West, Wabush, and Lab City can be a family community. A stable family communities for future generations. And we do that by investing in our seniors and the supports. And that's something that has not really been done. And I see that as Minister of Healthcare. The biggest problem with our healthcare system now, when we talk about people not being able to get in, long waits that emerge, or waiting for a bed in St. John's so you can go out and have a procedure, or even in your local hospital. It's not that we don't have the acute care beds, it's because they're taken up by people waiting on a bed at a personal care home or long-term care. So we have to change that. We got to invest in healthy aging populations, and we have to make sure that our seniors are looked after. And I got to tell you, who's going to look after Labrador? Us. Us, right? We're just looking at Keith there, right? Because he hears it. And being Minister of Health, I know it's a mining conference, but I want to say this. Just talking, Keith Russell is the MHA for Lake Melba region, The hospital in Happy Valley Goose Bay, when I became minister, 19 of the 26 beds, acute care beds, were taken up by people waiting for long-term care. 19 out of 26. So how does somebody in emerge get embedded into a hospital bed? They can't. So it's so important. When you look at mining is the industry, but you know what makes the industry work? It's people. People, families, and communities. And our Premier knows that. Premier Tony Wakeham talks a lot about we got to look after the peoples, look after the families, and they'll look after the communities, they'll look after the regions, and that's how we prosper. And also, forget about speech, put speech away. It's the first big audience I've had since I became minister. When you talk about investing in people and communities, though, it's so important. It's so important for us to look at the big picture. And actually, I should have had a big stop clock so I could see how much time I got. But one of the reasons why I don't stick to speeches, because especially if I'm listening to somebody else go on before me, is MP Philip Earl said, "Labrador matters more now," and he couldn't be more truthful. Because we look at the states, we look at the instability, and we look at the needs for stable mineral resources. Labrador matters more now than ever, right, Philip? So true. And another thing, for us as Labradorians, they talk a lot about Labrador sovereignty. See how proud I am? Canadian sovereignty. Canadian sovereignty, and they talk about rare earth minerals, critical minerals, but also they talk about Arctic sovereignty, right? And we as Labrador is right there, right? North Atlantic, close to Greenland. We are right in the middle of all that's going on. But the one thing I say, and I say to the federal government, if you want to use us to establish Arctic sovereignty, it can't be just about raising a flag in Labrador and in the north. You have to provide us with services and infrastructure that we need to function in Canada, to be equal members of Canada. That's so important, right? So important. But also, But I gotta say, living in Labrador and looking at Labrador, and especially when it comes to mining, we have the resources. We have so much untapped, like basically we have so much when it comes to copper, nickel, cobalt, all the rare earth minerals, uranium. We got all the minerals that everyone wants. So right now it's a really good time for us to take advantage of that, but make sure that it's being done right and it's going to benefit the entire province, and make sure that Labrador is not left behind again. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Evans. Please keep your awards going for our final speaker in this section, Government House Leader and Minister of Energy and Mines, Minister Lloyd Parrott.
Just imagine my luck, I gotta follow that. It's good to be home, really good to be home. October 28th last year, Premier Wakem called and he said, Lloyd, I'd like for you to be my government house leader, which I thought was a great honor. And immediately after that, he said, I'd like for you to be the Minister of Energy and Mines. Quickly, I said yes. We had a conversation and I hung up the phone. And after I hung up the phone, I cried. I wept. And there's people here in this audience who knows me, and they've known me since I was a young man. And I think they'd probably tell you I'm one of the toughest sons of bitches you ever met in your life. I didn't cry out of fear. I didn't cry out of anything other than the fact I understood the enormous, immense opportunities and responsibilities that I now had put upon my shoulders. You just heard Leila and Philip speak, and if you didn't pick up on the fact, and Joe, of how much they love Labrador, I don't think you were in this room where you were listening. They're not lying to you when they say we now have an opportunity. Like Leila, I'm not very good at sticking to a script. I have a big speech here, but I have a few things I need to get out of the way. So in 1990, I joined the military, and I spent 21 years traveling the world, seeing some of the best and the worst that life and politics that has to offer to anyone, really. Been through some pretty enormous, difficult times myself. Always was proud to be a Canadian. Was always proud to be a Newfoundlander. In 2007, I lost my leg due to a military injury, and while I was in the hospital, Archdeacon Buckle, who was very well known to Labradorians, came and visited me. And it was at that moment I realized that more than anything, I'm proud to be a Labradorian. And I think for a long time, Labrador has existed based on the toughness, the hard work, and what its people brought to it. But a part of that equation always included the employers and the people in this room. And what's important about that is that somewhere along the line, we've lost sight of that. And we've gone from an economy that had people living in communities, growing up in communities, to fly in, fly out. We've come to a place where opportunity is missed based on residency. And I think it's time for us to realize that Labrador is not just a place where people come to, it's a place where people come from. And they're damn proud to be Labradorians, and they want to be here. And, there's generations here. I say that on the fact that both my parents, I come from Wabush. I come from a mining family. My mom was actually one of the very first women hired in Wabush mines back in 73 or 74, her and Kathleen Martin, back when there were no women working in mines. She forged the path for a lot of young women that are working there now. I did a tour of the mine yesterday, both IOC and Decorah, and what amazed me was I'm certain that I seen more young women than I did young men, and it's great to see. Its diversity is long overdue And you know, when I talk diversity, I talk about Labrador as a whole. That means men, women, people of different ethnicities, people that are Indigenous, people that have disabilities. And I think we're finally trying and starting to get that right, but we got a ways to go. I understand the prosperity that can be brought here and the opportunities that mining has brought, not just to Labrador West, but to all of Labrador. I have a great amount of respect for everyone in this room. There are pioneers in this room that helped build it. There are new companies here that are trying to start up. There are companies from all across Eastern Canada and other places that are here looking for opportunities and bring people here to work on a regular basis. I know personally the positive effects that mining can have on not just the communities, but the provincial government, provincial and federal coffers themselves. This year alone, the Labrador Trough has produced $3.3 billion. That's what's been shipped out of here just in iron ore. It's amazing when you think about it. That's more than half of the province's total mineral output. Mining in Labrador West is projected to give you the equivalent of 3,440 full-time jobs this year alone. Now, when you think about that, it's incredible. But this industry doesn't just support jobs. It supports entire communities. And you can look around and you can see the things that it's done here specifically in Labrador West. But those things can be seen throughout all the province where mines exist. You know, schools, recreation, municipal services, all are a fact and have come to fruition because of the hardworking men and women and because of the companies who have decided to set up business and work in places like Labrador West. Generations of skilled workers in this area, including my mom and dad, have built a reputation for safe, productive, and responsible operations. And that is recognized globally. And you can go anywhere and say where you're from and people will tell you they have probably been here at some point if they're in the mining industry. And it's a great place to come, for sure. People in this room are committed to safety on the job, environmental stewardship, and building a strong relationship with the local economies. What we haven't heard over the last 10 years is that you have a government that recognizes this. And I'm here to say now you do. We believe that the mineral development in this province is foundational to Newfoundland and Labrador's economic future. And I guess it's part of the reason why I wept a little when the Premier called me. Because this is no longer a department that is 4 or 5 different acronyms bringing in a whole bunch of different things. This is now energy and mines. Back to the roots where it needs to be. The foundation and the linchpin that will solve the problems in this province. The Premier has given me a very strong mandate, and we know exactly where we're going with this stuff. We need industry to succeed, and we will be their biggest champions. Make no mistake about it. Not just mining, not just energy, but oil and gas. We are back in business here in Newfoundland, and everybody will prosper. And as Leela just said, if you've spent any time in a hospital, if you've been anywhere throughout this entire province, these problems don't just exist in Labrador, but they're certainly magnified in Labrador. We have serious foundational issues, and part of that stems from our geography. Secondarily to that, it stems from our population. So how do you fix that? We need to find a way to bring people here to live, not to visit, not to fly in out of. It can't be how we look at things. Secondary processing is key to our future, and we understand that energy is a big part of that. But we have a future here in Newfoundland and Labrador right now that we can write ourselves. Far too long, we have taken seconds. We've accepted development without resource. We have allowed people to come in and take our resources and let them leave the province with no secondary processing. That's not just mining. That's our fishery, that's our forestry, it's everything we've done. And I can tell you, for those of you that aren't from Newfoundland and Labrador, for those of you who are visiting Labrador for the first time today, this is the greatest place on earth. And don't take my word for it, talk to the people that live here. They're not going to tell you that this is a bad place. They're not going to tell you that they're -40 is cold. They go on snowmobile when it's -40. They go hunting, they go fishing, they go have a campfire, they go to Smoky Mountain and they ski. We left the hotel this morning and my EA said, "Where's your jacket?" I said, "I don't wear a jacket, it's not cold." And I'm sure a lot of you are bundled up. But the reality is, when you live here, this place becomes who you are. And it never leaves you. It never leaves you. I talked to Ryan yesterday at IOC. Ryan moved here from California. And I said, it must have been a shock. And the first words out of his mouth was how much he loved it here, how much this has become his home, and how he doesn't miss California. I'm sure he misses Australia. I have never been to Australia, but I miss Australia. But I wouldn't want to live there. But he's embraced it. And I think as employers, it's your responsibility to embrace where you are too. It's a responsibility that you have to the men and women you're going to employ. And it's a responsibility that you have as an employer to yourself. Because if you're going to be a part of a place as great as Labrador West, you need to make yourself feel like you're home. Because the people that live here and that are from here are going to make you feel like you are home. Our government is committed to working with you to remove obstacles. We're committed to development and, more importantly, responsible development. We're going to make sure you have clear regulations and you know your path forward. My office has been told that our door is open and our phones are on, and we are there on a regular basis to help people whenever, however they need. And you will see a very open line of communication from my department to anyone who needs us for any reason whatsoever. Everything we do in government is always going to make sure the people of this province are going to come first. That the men and women that live in this province, specifically in regions like Labrador West, are the primary beneficiaries of our resources. Our department is working hard to promote this minerals, all of our minerals throughout the whole province around the world. We have folks right now making connections all over the world to key stakeholders, telling them that this is the best place on earth to come. Last year, we were recognized as the 8th best jurisdiction in the world for mining. Just think about that. This isn't Canada. This is Newfoundland and Labrador competing against other countries. 8th best in the world. Now let's put something in perspective. We've probably only explored about 10% of this province. I would argue that we're probably the best place in the world for mining. And there is so much opportunity here. And I guess that's why it's important for this to happen here today. People need to understand what is available here, what the future can bring, and that this government supports what they do, and we're open for business. And you will clearly see a mandate from this government that shows we're here for the mining industry. What we really want is the kids of today to have a childhood like my childhood. And I had a conversation again yesterday with both the fine folks from Takora and from IOC, and I explained to them some of the things that we used to have. And when I said, when I was a young man, the companies had a private jet, kids didn't pay to go to university on the plane, the companies flew them in and out. We didn't have a shortage of doctors or teachers because the companies helped subsidize those things. And those things are still done, but not on the scale that they are right now. Companies haven't lost sight of this. Believe me, I've had the conversations. Companies want to be a part of the solution, but I don't think they always understand what the solution is. The solution is for these companies to come together and understand that they can do these things together. Not make it about the individual, but make it about the community. And that's not just IOC, Takora, CAMI, which is going to be successful. They better be successful. It's about the smaller companies that come in here. There's opportunity for growth and opportunity to make this place not just our home, but a home for everyone that comes here. This region has more potential than people realize. And the Labrador Trough is the key to clean iron throughout the entire world. Make no mistake about it. And we will develop it. And the Premier's been clear on that. The Premier's been clear on energizing not just Labrador West, but all of Labrador. It sounds like a heavy mandate, but we will find a way to do it. And I don't make promises, but I believe in Tony Wakeham. And Leila described Tony. She's not wrong. He's true to his convictions. He's not a politician. He believes in people and he believes in this province. And I'm proud to be a part of what he's doing and proud to call him a friend, actually. Our whole group is that way. And you just heard Minister Evans. I can tell you right now, as proud as I am to be her colleague, I'm prouder to call my friend, because the passion she just showed is exactly who she is and what she shows every single day. The purity of the iron ore here has been a global changer when we talk about clean, green steel. And the world wants it. And, you know, our department has met with officials from India, Australia, all over. Believe me, there are people who want what we have to offer. And now we just got to find a way to move it forward, and we will. And then you look at what companies like Decora are doing with their tailings and trying to recover manganese and move things forward. Technology has given us an opportunity to change the game. And when we have pre-existing infrastructure here and pre-existing mines, new mines coming online, it really makes us look at things under a different lens. So don't underestimate the amount of opportunity that Labrador West has to offer. I think that Labrador West is going to be here for a very long time. And, you know, I'd love nothing more than to see the population double. So I guess that's the challenge I offer to IOC, CAMI, Rio Tinto, and anybody else who wants to work in Labrador West. There's a stream of upcoming projects that demonstrate clearly the confidence that government has, and not just the confidence that we have, but the confidence that companies have in coming to Labrador West. So if you look at the CAMI Iron Ore Project, the Julian Lake Iron Ore Deposit, Joyce Direct Iron Ore Direct Shipping 1 project, Labrador Iron Mines Direct Shipping Ore Project. Together, these projects could produce millions of more tons of iron ore over their lifetimes. That's decades of potential economic activity and jobs and revenue to help pay for the services that we need. And that's the key. You know, you sit here, I always say, I had a conversation this morning, when I was a young boy, there was 4 grocery stores here. There was never, you know, a question of whether or not you could go get something at the grocery store. Forget about things being shipped in here. You could go to any grocery store and get it. There was 2 movie theaters. You know, there was, this was a great place to be. And now you look around and it's become a work town. And for the people that have lived here all their lives and haven't seen the deterioration of service, I wish that they could look at Labrador West through my eyes, because I left in 1990, and I spent my lifetime trying to get back to Newfoundland and Labrador. I spent a period of time, about, I think it was 14 years, where I didn't come back, and it's not because I didn't love it or didn't want to come back, it's because my mom and dad both worked in the mines, and when a holiday opportunity came, they came to visit us. Three of their sons, because of the timing of when we left school, we had to leave. We didn't have the opportunities that people have here today. So they'd visit us, so I never came back. But when I came back here, in 2007, my eyes were opened. But 2 years ago, when I came back to MineX, it broke my heart. I got to be honest, it broke my heart to see what was, and probably still is, the greatest place to raise a child and live. But if you spent your childhood here and you've seen what it had become, it was shocking to me. There is a lot of untapped exploration left to do here. Right now, there's the Red Paramount Lake Varroa project that's under exploration, High Tide Resources, the Labrador West project, Cyclone Metals, the Iron Bear project, and we realize that unlocking this potential will require addressing all the transmission line constraints. We're going to continue to work collaboratively with companies and all levels of government, federal, provincial, and municipal. We understand the cost involved with this, but we are committed to making sure that electricity gets to Labrador West so we can expand. Not just expand, we want more exploration. We also see evolving technologies which are creating more ways to extract ore, and a great example is Decora when they're looking at the manganese deposits. So we believe that this will work for them. I'm certain that they wouldn't be investing in their infrastructure and doing what they're doing right now if they didn't believe that this will work for them. So I guess the old Newfoundland saying is there's more than one way to skin a cat. I think, there's opportunity. We see it right now in Bay Verte. I mean, Firefly Mines is out there opening what was a pre-existing mine. And last when we met with them, I think that they said their resource. So this is a mine that was shut down with no further resource. And now they're thinking that they have about a 134-year mine life. Think about that. Shut down, nothing left to give, to 134 years. That is what technology is doing to the world. So in conclusion, I could stay here all day actually, but I won't. There's a lot happening right now, and we all know that. You know, we need to seize the opportunity. You know, we hear it all the time, but it's not just about government doing this. It's about everyone in this room understanding what you have to offer to the community, to your own opportunities in a business. And profit is not a dirty word. We believe that profit is a great word. And believe me, when you guys profit, everyone profits. The employees, the province, healthcare, the roads, infrastructure, everything requires economics, and we get that. And that's why we're so big on pushing things forward, because the greater the economics, the greater this province will be. So I'm going to be here over the next few days. I'm here till Thursday. Some of my colleagues have to leave today. You'll see me around the conference. Don't hesitate to come talk to me. If you need contact information, I've got several of my colleagues here with me, so you'll have an opportunity to talk to them. We're going to be carrying on a few meetings, and if people want to meet in private, I'm sure we can arrange some of that. But any question, no question is out of bounds. You can come talk to me whenever you need. Just understand that not just me as the minister, but as Leila said, it was what I was going to talk about when I came up here. We have 6 people in our caucus right now which have deep-seated roots in Labrador, and it is a real conversation that happens around this table. There's a love of Labrador, and nowhere else in the world will you find I'll hark back to grade 10 culture, I guess, a cultural mosaic like you see in Labrador. It's interesting because when somebody says, I'm from, and I had the conversation this morning actually with MP Earl's assistant, she said, I'm from St. Brendan's, and I said, home of the Parrots and McCarthy's, but we know that. So we know that because we grew up in a community where everyone was from somewhere, but they decided to come here and live. And now, as Leila just indicated, people don't want to leave. My dad is buried here. My mom lives here. She's 77 years old, and I can tell you, I couldn't pry her out of here with a crowbar. She's never going to leave. And we're hearing that from a lot of the seniors. This is their home. They came here. They worked 35 years. They're the pioneers that gave us what we have here. I can say, I'm stood up here on this stage, and I've sat out there in that crowd lots of times and watched things on this stage. Never imagined I'd speak here, and I'm sure that there's people in this audience who never imagined they'd be sitting out there listening to me with my, anyhow, we won't go there. So, but listen, thank you everyone. I'm available, like I said, at any time. If anyone wants to speak over the next few days, just come tap me on the shoulder, and if I don't have time at that moment, we'll find a way to make time. And enjoy Minex, thanks to the organizers, and take advantage of Labrador. Labrador is not only a beautiful place to visit, it's a beautiful place to be, and it's a more beautiful place to be from. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Parrott, and thanks to all the ministers, provincial and federal, for coming out this morning. Sorry, so that concludes our first session. We're going to take a quick coffee break.